So, like I said, right, I want to introduce them, or you can introduce yourselves. This is the group that went -2, okay? My wife went. Sarah, she is third from the right over there. She was able to go, but like I said, she's in Houston right now, so she's not able to be here. And then John Olson actually made his appearance. If you guys know John, John came over. He lives about an hour and a half away from the camp, which is really cool because he loves the stuff that we did, which we'll explain here in a second. He's not in the picture. He took the picture. That's the servant heart of John Olson. So, but he was able to come over. He came over Wednesday night after work. So he got off work late, like 8 o'clock. Also, if you know John, he was wanting to be there at 5. Me and Matt talked, and we were like, so we're planning on 8. And then he got there, or then he texted me at 8 and said, I'm going to be there at 10:30. And we were like, oh, okay. So, but he was great to have there. He was so much fun. But right now we'll introduce ourselves. Go for it.
My name is Faith Wenzel.
I'm Grace Wenzel. I'm not a Wenzel. I'm Isabel Alvarez.
And I'm Matt Schneider.
Yeah, and so what originally went up was me, the Twinzels, that's what we call them. You can use that, that's free. And Isabel, and then my wife, and Atticus as well. Atticus is being held by Grace in the picture. He was able to go too. He was a hit of the camp, which was cool. But we went, and then Matt came over, what day? Tuesday night. So, yeah, you're fine. So Tuesday night he came over, and he was a big help too. So let's go on to the first slide, and we'll go through this. Grace, go for it.
Okay,
What happened here?
This was on the drive up to Wisconsin, and this was probably like halfway, and we were really hungry, and we decided to go to Portillo's. I don't know how to pronounce it, but okay. Isabel and Sarah and Jason were all like, we have to go to Portillo's. This is amazing. There's a Portillo's on the way. We have to go. And so we stopped at Portillo's, and we went in, and it was awesome. They were correct. It was amazing. And we ate there, and all of us got some really good food.
Yeah, they have Chicago-style hot dogs, and if you've ever had one,
awesome.
They're pretty legit. They're pretty good.
We all decided to go in and eat, and then they gave us hats, and that was a good photo op. So this is us with our hats on, and Atticus, as you can see. He's a model. So, yeah, we went to Portillo's, and that was probably halfway on the drive, and then we drove all the way up. So,
Go to the next slide. Isabel, go for it. What were we doing here?
I'm bad with dates, so I think this is Monday.
This is Monday morning, yeah.
Okay, thank you. These are my fact checkers. Anyway, this is Monday, and we arrived the night before, but like this is where we got to meet like all the counselors and the staff, and like every morning they have like some time like where they eat breakfast, and like for this day like it was just the staff, and the campers were going to arrive in the afternoon, and it was nice because we just had a time where we could connect with all the other staff, and just like they have been there, like when we arrived they had been there for 7 weeks, and that was amazing to know and find out about that. But the way that they were very servant-hearted and how they greeted us was really amazing, and we had like amazing devotionals, and one of the devotionals I remember the most was we were talking about sleep and how sleep is important, but it shouldn't be everything in our life. And I do have to admit, it made me yawn a lot when we were talking about it. A lot. I love God, but just talking about sleep. So, but it really did speak to me because like God, the way that He made the sun and just understanding His beauty, that spoke out to me that like He made the sun, and how farmers, they get up when the sun wakes up and they're done with their work as soon as the sun goes down, because like that's how God made it to be. And so during the night they sleep, and they don't sleep more, they don't sleep less, they sleep exactly how God made it out to be. So that really did speak to me.
Yeah. So we did devos every morning. So it was really rejuvenating too, because you saw a group of believers come together, talk about issues, talk about life, talk about their experience, which was really cool. You can go to the next one. I really want Grace to oh, go ahead, Faith. Faith, you do it. Go for it, Faith.
Okay. So where we were, this was our very first job. We did it on Monday.
Yeah.
This is
a human foosball court. So there's buckets in the ground, and right now there's currently grace in the ground. And our job was to weed this court and get the rocks out of the bottom of the buckets, which was very difficult because the buckets are meant to hold like little children, and we're not little children. So we went either head first into it or we like squat down in that, and then we just
Did we
stayed there
use?
just like
We used a frisbee golf frisbee to try to scoop them out.
It was impossible
difficult. Yes.
because like the rocks weren't like pebbles; they were pretty big rocks, and you can only hold like 5 in your hand. So we were all like squatting down in them for like 10 minutes in each bucket. It took forever, and it was very hot. Let me tell you, in those buckets. So that was our first task. That was really
Can I
fun.
put something just real quick? There was bugs in those buckets, and and I am not good with all that stuff. So it was like a big leap of faith because like there was like daddy long legs, and they're like, Jason's like, they're not gonna hurt you, and I'm like, yeah, but they're scaring me. So just gotta put that out there. We worked hard.
Those buckets were just nice. They were hot and rocky and bug infested, and we aren't small people, so just inching our way down in those buckets, you can see that it was very difficult.
You can imagine us, knees to our chest, just like putting rocks out. That's all we did. That's how it happened. So.
Okay.
So this is, by the way, this is one of many different contraptions that they have at the camp. This was the human foosball. You stand in the barrel, and then they have a ball, and you hit the ball to go into the goal, which was watching the 5th and 6th graders do it was very, very entertaining. So that was a really cool part of it, just because that was a lot of that on that side was grass. So the work that they put in to get that out of there. Go ahead and next one. I don't think you got to go to any chapel services, but I'll explain this one. Chapel was where they had about 160 to 170 people in that room. Most of them was 150 students came to this camp. So 5th and 6th graders. I called them, if you've ever seen the movie Sandlot, that's what I referred to them as because that's what they acted like. They were all Sandlot to me. So, but they were awesome. They were a lot of fun, and there was a ton of energy in that room. If you went in there, you had to wear earplugs because it was that loud. It was awesome, though. We really enjoyed it. But they did worship there, and Isabel, did you guys get to be a part of the worship? Or?
No.
Isabel did, right?
Yeah, I had the opportunity. There were some people that I met the first night, or the first morning, and I found out someone spoke Spanish, and like they were really excited and very, very excited that someone else spoke Spanish. So they invited me to sing and lead a song in Spanish with them. So it was a great opportunity because I wasn't expecting it, and like just getting to have a different culture and then like introduce it to more people. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And she killed it.
She sold the show.
She was impressive. Yep.
You can go to the next one.
Oh.
Go for it, Faith.
All right. This was the first day on Monday, and it was after we had done the foosball court. We had weeded that. We started on our main project, which was clearing out 2 tree lines on the main road. And this was us, I think, going to lunch and going to orientation for that day. And we had Sarah's phone, and we were vlogging. It consisted of us, like, goofing off on the way back, as you can see.
You guys would take her phone regularly.
Yeah, we took her phone regularly and, like,
Infested
checked
it.
up, made, like, daily updates. It was our vlogs. It was really funny.
Which vlogging, if you don't know, is video blogging. Vlogging. Vlog.
Yeah.
So that's
What's
what
it
we're-
called? Oh, no. Okay.
Vlogging.
We can go to the next one.
All right, I'll take this one. So, we weren't always doing just the main project that we'll talk to you about later had to do with the woods and clearing them out and clearing the stretch of land that had a bunch of trees in it. But we also, the counselors and the staff had other things that we could do. Well, other things that we could help them with, and that was one of the biggest things. They were super inclusive of us, which made a huge difference. So, and we were inspired by that. So we they asked us to fill, because they had to fill up like
1,000.
1,000 water balloons in the over the span from morning to afternoon. That's how much time they had. So they had this contraption that was super MacGyver. It was like this long wood strip, and it had a hose hooked up to a bunch of PVC pipes, nozzles. They were spitting out water. And we were a part of filling up these 1,000 water balloons, and we got to do it with water balloons with a bunch of the counselors, which was really fun, actually. We didn't think that we thought it would be tedious, but it ended up we'd be spraying each other with water.
It's water balloons. Come
Yeah.
on. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so can you guys go back to thanks. So this picture, I'll tell you who's in it. So Isabel is the one in the green, and then Reed, we worked with him for maintenance, and then I'm over there, and then Jeremiah, or Doak, he is the project
He's program director.
program director. And then on the other side, I think it was just Grace, and then our favorite person in the world, Heidi's doppelganger, which we had met. The very first day, Isabel noticed, she's like, oh, wow, this girl looks like Heidi. We only saw her from
It
behind.
was uncanny.
It was like same height, same hair, same glasses. And then during orientation, we all had to say our names and something about ourselves. And it comes to this girl, and she goes, my name is Heidi. And we all freaked out. Like, Isabel, this was her face. She was standing on the other side of the line, and she goes, I told you. That's what it was. Just so you know, it was, and that is the
She
Wisconsin
sounds like Heidi too.
You'll see her
What
face.
is she going into, or what was she at the?
Lifeguarding.
She was
Yeah,
a lifeguard.
They both
So-
want to save each other.
Just
They're
like
the
Heidi.
same age.
So if you don't
Homeschooled.
know Heidi, she's sitting here. I'm embarrassing her, but she's sitting up front. She's part of our youth group. So like, if you get a moment, introduce yourself, and you'll be like, they're the same person. So go ahead and go to the next one. This was Sarah. She got to, there was one of the camp, or the cabins, their counselor's name was Lydia, and they got to know Lydia pretty well. She asked Sarah to share the devotional for that night, which was really cool to involve us into what they were doing. Because when we went, we were originally just doing maintenance. And then what was really cool is they were very inclusive to bringing us in, and they were so hospitable. It was amazing. But Sarah got to share about relationships, what it was like for her in 5th and 6th grade, and those girls were enamored. They loved it. They were smiling the entire time, laughing with her. They wanted her to tell more stories, and so just the impact she had on that table alone, just that one night, was phenomenal. And what was really cool is the 3 girls got to share too during that time. I held Atticus, who was sleeping on me across the lodge, but it was really cool. You can go to the next one. Isabel, Merry Christmas. You can share this one.
Thank you. Christmas in July. Okay. I don't know how to start this. Okay. On Wednesday, we had originally planned that we would like go out in town and do something, but we had just like loved seeing all the activities that the camp had, and we just wanted to have some time to be able to do that. So we decided to stay at the camp, and they had a lake with kayaks, and we wanted to go. We wanted to go to the lake. Well, we were all in our kayaks, and we were all in our kayaks, and Faith's like, mine's a really bobby kayak. I'm like, hey, you want to trade? Like, mine's not that bad, you know. And so we trade, and I'm like, I'm not wearing a life jacket, and
None of us are.
yeah, none of us are. Sorry, none of us are. I don't know if it's that deep. I didn't touch the bottom. I wasn't gonna find out, but.
None for me.
Sarah's like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing a great job. I'm gonna record this. I'm gonna, so for the church, so they can see what's happening. As soon as she hits record, my kayak canoe, I don't know what it's called. Okay, thank you. I don't know what it's called.
It's a kayak.
Thank you, Grace. It tips over right exactly the moment she says, I'm gonna record, and presses like record, and I flip over, and Sarah's just like, yeah, like she laughs so hard. And
We're all laughing.
Yes, and I'm like, I just felt like so.
It was cold.
Yeah, the water was ice cold. So when she fell in, it was like, I could imagine just being like completely over. It was cold. It was really
Speechless.
cold.
It was
Speechless.
a spring-fed
like,
pond, so
yeah.
it was like.
And for me, it was like, I'm not a strong swimmer, and so I was just like, I'm going to die here in this lake. But luckily, I'm saved by Christ, and also I have amazing people here who love me. Sarah, she like got me a life jacket. They like helped me out, and they like grabbed like put their canoes closer when I swim back. I'm alive. If you guys don't know, I'm alive here to this day. But it was kind of scary for me. But
The video was like 8 seconds long, and I wish I could show it to you, but it didn't. It didn't go over into the PowerPoint. But it is literally 8 seconds, and it's start. Hey, you guys are doing such a great job, and it's just phenomenal.
And then we laugh.
Yeah.
And then we freak out.
Like,
Yeah.
jumped into action because we're like, it's probably cold water.
Yeah.
And Sarah like puts Atticus down away from the shore so we wouldn't like roll into the
It
pond.
was a roller coaster.
And
of
then she
emotions.
grabbed a life jacket, and Isabel was trying to get to her kayak, and like
it kept floating away. Come on.
like it would have floated away. So I was just like paddling closer, and we were just swimming to each other. It was a dandy.
It was
time.
a movie.
We can
That's
go
what
the.
it was.
Go ahead, go to the next
Horror
one.
movie.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this was, I think, was this before Picnic in the Pines?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we had Picnic in the Pines, which is on Wednesday night, and basically it's a picnic in the pines. There were tables, and we ate dinner there. But before this, the kids had a bunch of free time, and this kid right there by the swing, his name was Dane, and I got really close with him. He was really funny. He was like, "You're my best friend," after like at the end of the week. And me and Grace were talking to him, and we were just like, can you do a flip on the bar, that kind of thing. And we had like a little contest. It was fun. That was one of the kids we got really close to, and then there were several others. But this was before Picnic in the Pines, and we were just hanging out with all the kids. It was really fun.
Well, this is a picture, a representation of what these three did all week. That like hanging out with him, hanging out with other kids at meals. They would sit at different tables to get to know the students there. This picture honestly simply represents their heart towards these kids and the opportunities that they had. They used their time wisely. Even in their downtime, they were still trying to do ministry, which was really cool.
Sorry, just saying. Like the first night, me and Isabel were actually invited to go to a Devo at Rachel's cabin, and she was another counselor that we got very close to, and we enjoyed that. And we went to a lot of Devos at her cabin, and then we did Lydia's, which you said. But we got really close with the kids on our downtime. So.
Yeah. So now the work. This was the biggest project we had. You'll see some before and after pictures. But when we got there, we cleaned out that one human foosball pit. But then he goes, all right, do you see these tree lines? We need to get these cleared of all the foliage, the young pines, the oak trees, anything that wasn't a red pine. We had to cut it down and pull it out. And so, Matt, you want to explain what we did, kind of what happened?
Yeah, so there was a ton of brush in there. A lot of it was just like 1 inch and smaller stuff. So we basically just had to cut all that out with either a chainsaw or a brush cutter, which is kind of like a weed whacker with a saw blade on it. And then the girls would just have to pull everything out of there, drag it all out of the woods, which there was a lot of branches. So it was hours and hours of cutting and dragging, loading stuff onto a wagon, and dragging it off to a giant burn pile.
Yeah. You can go to the next one. This is more of the work. This is how thick it was. I don't know if you can tell, like you'll see some more even thicker areas, but like we were in there, and when I came out, like I had shorts on, like when we came out, there were scratches on our arms and everything because the cedar's horrible. We can go to the next one. This is just to show how thick it was. Matt is there using the brush cutter, going to town, and the Twinsels, they were across the trail road. They were doing more raking, and anything that was still there after Matt would go over it, there were still some saplings that are on the ground, and they would have to go back with some the loppers, and they would have to cut them, and it was so monotonous.
Can I explain the job? So everybody.
Yeah, go for it.
Everybody had a job. John and Jason were both using chainsaws and cutting down the big stuff, and they enjoyed that. And then Matt was going with this, like, saw brush cutter. It was a heavy duty saw that looked sort of like a weed whacker, but it had like a blade on it. He was going, and everything that was like the size of your finger or smaller, that's what he was cutting, or a little bit larger. And then we were snipping even tinier stuff, and then we were pulling it all out. So yeah, and then going over it a second time. So everybody had a specific job. No one was like not doing anything.
I
Yes.
know that Sarah's not here, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out to her. Like,
She was great.
yeah, she was great. Like, she would mention like sometimes that like she didn't feel like she was doing enough for us. She's like, well, I'm not helping as much, and she had Atticus. Like, she needs to take care of like her kid, and that was fine for us. And like, she was really helpful and tried to help as much as she could. Like, she would go into town and like she bought us water bottles because it was really hot outside. And like, what really did show like how servant-hearted she was is that like she had Atticus in this body carry thingy, and like, but she had him there and she was carrying him, or he would be in his like stroller. Thank you. And she would be picking up twigs and picking up branches and picking up leaves with us. And so like, she wanted to help so much. And so like, I don't know. I just thought that like it just needed to be mentioned how much she was like a great asset to our team also.
Absolutely. You can go ahead to the next one. So this is a before pic. This is how thick a portion of it was. You can go to the next one, and that's what it looked like after. We cleared. It was probably around 20 to 30 yards wide. This area, and then an easy 70 yards long or longer on just one side of the road. And then the other side looked the same. You can go to the next one. This is a before. This is where it's all the oak trees and vines and honeysuckle. And if you know of a Wisconsin shrub, it was found in that area right there. It was so thick. And go to the next one. And that's what we had to do. So we cleared it out. It was work. It was tedious, but it was worth it. You can go to the next one. This one these are all the counselors and some maintenance staff. And then you see the tall guy in the back is Jeremiah. He was the program director. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so they have skit night on Friday night, and Jeremiah right there with the hat. He is very dedicated and committed to his job. That there was two counselors, the one in the green hat and the other one. Okay, I'm blind. I couldn't see it anyway. So, but they you're my eyes too. But the guy in the green hat and another guy named Ambrose, they put on a skit with Jeremiah that was in the book hat, and like they tied Jeremiah to a chair. It was all part of the skit and plan, but Jeremiah had willingly let them shave off his hair and eyebrows in front of the kids. And like the next day, like when we were leaving, like it was all patchy everywhere, and like it just showed commitment to his job. Like he was such a fun person to be around, and like I just couldn't get over that. I thought that was
the
really
worst haircut I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was awful.
But
He
they
was a
were
trooper.
YouTube certified, so
That was a skit that they had been YouTube certified barbers, and they had like a book that was like barbers for dummies, or like haircuts for dummies, and that was the skit. And luckily he's like a ginger, so he doesn't really have eyebrows anyway. That's why he was okay with it. Just it wasn't like, oh, shave off my eyebrows. No, you couldn't really tell. But his haircut, it was awful. It
Yeah.
was
It
awful.
looked like you shaved a lamb. That's what it looked like. No,
he
it's
looked like a poodle.
it was not
It was a
good.
strawberry blonde lamb.
We can go to the next one. This is John Olson and Atticus, and Atticus is midriff. It was really cool. John, I put this picture in here because this just shows John's personality in the whole time he was there. Granted, he was only there for 2 days with us, but it was an absolute joy to have him. He, like, me and Sarah are, like, we think he got funnier. I mean, he was already funny, but he just got funnier, and he was a lot of fun to have around. You go to the next one. This is one of the trees that they obviously wanted to keep, and this was like the coolest tree that was there. And like we saw it, and we were like, we got to climb this tree. So we had to do a picture. If you see at the very top is Isabel. And
She got a slight shadow up at the top. That's her.
yeah.
This tree, on the Wednesday, which was our half day where we kayaked, Isabel had never climbed a tree before. So we decided, she's at the top. In this picture, she's experienced. But before, this was the tree we chose to climb, and she had climbed a tree for the first time this trip.
So proud.
Yeah, so proud. And that's
we,
it.
So we can go to the next one. Oh, go.
Throwing pine cones at each other.
Matt,
Buddies.
so you want to describe the food of this trip?
Yeah, so the food is, it's amazing. If you've heard the snow trip reports, it's the same cooks who do that. They've been doing it for like 22 years, so yeah, they're really good at what they do. It's like not four course, but there's like 4 or 5 things every meal, and it's just awesome stuff.
What are you eating there?
I think that was a cinnamon roll, maybe.
We killed some cinnamon rolls.
It's plate after plate. There was one day we thought they might have been running out of something, and a camper quickly reminded they never run out. If they're low, they'll make more. So yeah,
and they did. And we ate really well. It was good.
The only bad part was I came on Tuesday night, which was right after Stromboli Day, so I missed the Stromboli.
That's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah. All right, you can go to the next one. This is Brad Dickinson. He is the camp director. He's the guy that we deal with concerning Snow Trip. What's cool about Brad, and like I think we all can take a lesson from Brad. If you ever get a chance to meet this guy, Brad is extremely inclusive and hospitable. There were so many times where we would be sitting somewhere, and all of a sudden the staff would come. They're about to have a staff meeting, and we're like, "Oh, we should go." And he's like, "No, you guys can stay. You can hang out with us." And then they would include us in the meeting, which he didn't have to do. He could say, "No, thank you guys, go on," but he didn't. And he made sure that we were okay all the time. He was affirming. He was so great the whole time, and so we thank the Lord for him. Because even when I called him and was like, "Hey, we're thinking about doing a mission trip. What would it look like with you guys?" And he goes, "Here, I'll call you back in about a week. I'll have it all together, and then you guys just come." And then he said, then we go, I was like, "What's the price?" And most mission trips, you're thinking $150 to $250. I know I've done some that are $320. And he goes, $50 a person. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're feeding you. That's it. Just pay for the food." He goes, "You guys are coming and doing us a service." And I go, "Well, what about housing and everything else?" He goes, "We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it." And so that's the heart of this guy right here. So you can imagine they do family camps, high school camps, junior high camps, kids camps. And that's the man pouring into these kids. And it's like, amen. How cool is that? So he was a phenomenal blessing to us. You can go to the next one. And so, finally, we want to say thank you, guys. We want to say thank you to you for your prayers, support. We honestly love you guys, and we know you love us. And so, is there anything you guys have left?
I'm going to explain those pictures. So, everyone may look like very serious and looking off in a certain distance. We talked about, everybody was like, "Hey, let's take a normal picture and then a band picture as if we're these cool people in a band."
We are.
And
Go on.
I knew that we were going to do a band picture, but I didn't know when. So apparently they had, and I had been smiling the whole time, and at the end they were like, "All right, got it." And I was like, "What about the band picture?" And they said, "Oh, we just did it." And I was like, "But I wasn't looking in a distance. I was smiling, the biggest smile I've ever smiled in my life."
She's our lead singer. That's why she's our lead singer.
And also Atticus is, I was trying to make him smile at the camera, so I was like trying to tickle him and make him laugh. And I just tickled him and gone straight up into a smile, and everybody was looking all serious. And every time I see this picture, I'm like, "Oh my gosh. That's the biggest smile I've ever smiled." I could have been looking like really a little smile. No, that's huge. So
Looking straight through the camera.
yeah, everybody decided to pick a spot, and I looked straight at the camera.
Pick the camera.
Well, again, we want to say thank you guys for everything that you did. And, so thank you.